Welcome to Talking Voiceovers with me, Gail Goslin. Today's episode is going to be a compilation of amazing advice we've received over the last few months. What advice would you give to someone who is starting out in the voiceover industry?
The one thing I would say, I often get asked by new voice artists, what's the trick? And the truth is, for me, there was no trick. You just got to be open to hearing yourself naturally the way you sound and get comfortable with that. That is step one, because if you're uncomfortable with what you sound like in your headphones, you're going to climb a huge, huge mountain. So get used to that first. Then you've got to be comfortable playing. I was going to say playing with yourself, but that sounds dirty. So you've got to be comfortable playing. You've got to, once you're used to listening to yourself in your headphones, talk up here, talk down here, and make funny noises. And my husband says there is a plethora of wife noises, because apparently I make like sounds and do things all the time. So just play around and listen to yourself. And one of the most amazing pieces of advice that I was given when I was training at 5FM was literally repeat everything you hear. The lift, the escalator, the airport, the radio ad, the telephone on hold, they repeat. And the point is not to imitate, it's to get a feel of your own instruments and your own vocal equipment to find out where your skills lie, where your sounds lie, what sounds good, what isn't, what you're not comfortable with, and starting to get a real feel of your apparatus. Because although a lot of people say that voice is, it's esoteric and it's art, yes, it is, but also it's mechanical. You have muscles, you have tendons, you have a tongue, you have all of this apparatus, teeth, lips, and all of those things completely make for different sounds, accents, pace, pitch, tone, all of those types of things. And you need to get really comfortable with working with all of that. So play all the time. I still do it in the car now. I'll hear someone's voiceover and repeat it. My husband will look at me like, yes, Daniella, we've heard that 5,000 times. I'm like, shh, and then I'll do it again. So play around, play. And just remember, it's like a sport. It's like writing. It's like cooking. The more you do it, the more you mess around, the more mistakes you make, the better you're going to get at it. And the most important thing is to sound relaxed and sound like you're not reading. And the only way you can do that is practice, and listen to yourself.
See, this is a weird thing because I consider myself a bit of a newbie because I really only got into this post 2016, and 5 years is no time for one to consider themselves a master at anything, really, I think. But I do also recognize that there are people that are on year one that can pick up something. And to those people, I say, there's nothing to it but to do it, really, just do it. Because before I started doing the character voices, for example, professionally, I used to sit and observe and listen to people and try and imitate them and imitate accents. And, by the time I needed to step up and show it, I wasn't completely unfamiliar with it, if that makes sense. So that's my only advice. And I've already had people approach me after the video that I posted on the group. Really, just do it. Just start doing it. And obviously, we have so many resources now that the question of who must I approach really can be answered by yourself with a little bit of research. So once you're ready to approach somebody and ask for an in somewhere or to register yourself somewhere or anything like that, then you'll have a little bit more confidence if you start doing it alone and in your bedroom or wherever.
And then you just go and look for the people who can hire you and make yourself known to them.
Absolutely. The resources are there for us, And there's something that I actually learned myself, again, still learning, which is the reason why I also posted that video. Somebody said to me, you do this cool thing and like the people that are involved in it don't know. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Like you have to put yourself out there. You have to market yourself. You have to make yourself visible in some way or other.
Oh, wow. Persistence, definitely persist, and training. Definitely go for training, because in the beginning, it wasn't easy for me to hear how to move from one style to another. It wasn't easy for me to hear that. So I think training also definitely will help. And when I say persist, it's dog eats dog out there. Nobody owes you an opportunity. And that's why it's so important for you to persist. And that's why it's important to have someone that you can talk to. And I think a trainer or a voice coach will help you. As far as I got help with being able to get an agent was through going through a trainer. So I think that would be my piece of advice. Definitely persist and definitely training.
There are so many people that respond to my voiceover videos that I post on social media. I think some people think asking me if they can also join is how it works. Like, Rams, can't you get me a KFC voiceover as well? I'm like, yeah, I guess this is how it works. Like, just asking nicely on Instagram. But I just wish everyone did get just a chance to even just try it out once, or, you know, be hired for just even one smaller job, just to get a taste of it. Because I think even just the experience, however short, however basic or beginner, like, is like worlds apart from never ever getting to step inside the booth. You know, trying to learn to become a voiceover artist with enough experience and demos to get like an agent is so tough from the outside. And yeah, it's just what I wish for everyone. I wish everyone could just get some exposure, just a taste of it, because from the inside it just becomes so much like clearer. Like, oh my God, is this how this all works? This is so interesting. And you grow and learn, and you meet people, you make relationships, sound engineers, clients, and you can only grow from at least that little seedling. You know, watering air doesn't grow any plants. Yeah, that's not my wish in terms of like advice. I just wish everyone could just get at least one. But just to follow the fun, follow the passion. At least for me, it's just been a keen interest in movies, media, music, people watching, how people talk, accents, cultures, everything. Just amassing all of that, which is to me just life, is the base that I sort of deliver and work from. For characters, acting, it just feels like you are peopling. How I tell jokes with my friends, or impersonating someone who said this or said that, is how I guess me and my friends all have fun and get along. And at our braais, you could probably record many voiceovers at our braais, turn on the mic, and you just have so much content. Do you know Coconut Curls? I've grown up with a whole crazy bunch of very creative, funny people. She's one of them. We actually shot a Take a Lot ad together last year. And it's all just joking around with accents and, you know, your humor and all of that stuff that friends do when they're together. We had a podcast that we were literally about to start, and then she became like super famous. And had to go off to all her now big jobs and super successful. But I'll get there. Don't worry. I'm worming my way into the limelight.
You know, I think this is one of those professions that everybody's curious about, everybody's excited about, and everybody wants to be a voice artist. I think it's almost like when presenting was a thing. Now being a voice over artist is like a thing. I think that if it is something that you're really excited about, do the homework, find out what it's really about, find out what aspects you're interested in, the different agents out there that could represent you, put together a show reel, join workshops, find out what workshops exist that you can, you know, be a part of to get more information. It's amazing because there is so much information right now. When we started out, like I said, I had nowhere to go. There was really no information. 2001 was a long time ago. There was literally no information, and I battled to get anything outside of watching ads on TV and listening to them on radio. And right now there's so much at your disposal. There's so many places to plug into. So do it, plug into those places. Why not? And enjoy it. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. It's such an awesome profession. You get to play, you know? That's what it feels like. Every time you step into the booth, you're playing. So enjoy it.
Tell us some of the tips that Chilu gave you.
So Chilu was, breathing is everything. And I think we forget that because when you are nervous, you know, it sits here. So your delivery sits in your throat. Well, for me, at least it does. So breathing is everything that you know, it is everything, whether you are presenting or whether you're doing news or whether you're doing a voiceover, it's all about how you breathe. And so he just took me through just, you know, exhaling and pausing. And, you know, I have this thing where I just want to get it over and done with. So I speed through the stuff that I do. Like I want to sort of go today, and this is this. And you know what I mean? I want to sort of just get it over and done with. So it's the breathing and the slowing it down and the listening to direction. You know, he said to me, listen to direction, listen to what the director is asking you to do, because then you're just delivering your own thing. Listen to what it is that's required of you. And then he said, you know, try and do a little bit of the inflection. So a little bit of vocal gymnastics where you're coloring in from one word to the next. Let there be a difference between, you know, so you don't sound monotone. So yeah, you sort of try and give every word life.
And do you find that that would be different in presenting on screen or talking on the radio? Would you not do that as well?
You do, but I mean, for instance, me doing news versus me doing conversational or soft sell or hard sell, it's all different, right? So doing news is very factual. So actually being monotone works to a certain extent because you can't be emotional while you are telling various stories. You have to sound unbiased. Whereas if I am doing something and it's for Specsavers, I'm going to get people excited and I want to tell them to do this and there's a promotion and this and that. And you know what I mean? My voice is different. If I'm doing the FIFA World Cup and this and that, and I want to excite people, then my delivery is energetic and it's, if I'm talking about COVID and this and that and how COVID has impacted, my voice again has to be different. My delivery is different for every single read that's required of me.
So I'd say don't make the mistake I made. Bring acting training to it. Study the script. Don't get stuck in the fact that it's a hard sell, soft sell. Yes, that's a style, but don't let it become the style of each line, right? And try and bring who is this person in the script? Because that script writer wrote the copy. Yes, he's maybe not writing for film or TV or theatre, but he's written with an idea of someone in mind. Who is that person? Obviously, get some training. So even if you're not an actor, do a voiceover course, whether it be online or in person. I think if you can, in person at a studio, so you can get a nice inclusive package of the voice recording. Don't be discouraged if you don't get work at first. It's very competitive. There's plenty of voiceover artists out there. I think try and get some sort of representation. Always helps if you can. Obviously, there's lots of platforms online that you can have your voice on there, on your voice platforms, but I think representation helps. Some people just fall into the industry, which is fine. I mean, there's room for that. Although that frustrates actors most of the time. It's like, you haven't trained? What? But I think it happens around the world. But even those people who fall into acting need some sort of training. They're either training on set, they've got a personal coach, whatever it may be, and be humble as an actor. I think that's the most important thing. Don't make it about yourself. It's the same thing what I was saying about approaching text, and this is great advice I got through that coach, Matthew Harrison, that he teaches, is you're there to serve a story. So make it about the story. You're there to bring life to this character, not how you want to see the character, but how is the character being written and what is the vision? How can you as the actor get out of your own way and not make it about your ego, but be about what is the story I'm here to serve? And how can I, with the abilities I have, my actor's instrument, bring that to life in a way that serves and brings integrity to the project?
I think my side, it's always, you just never settle for less. Like, you should always just push for it. And I'm not saying that in a sense of like a job. I think if something comes your way and it might be the bottom of it, go for it and do that. And if it's not what you're wanting to do, don't sit there and just say, get used to it. Keep growing and keep developing and look around and see what there is. And I think like a lot of people from last year, they got quite affected quite hectically with the lockdown. And I think a lot of people's motivational levels have dropped. And I think they've kind of hit this dead end where they're just like, I don't know what to do anymore. I'm not worried. I'm so worried about what's happening in the world right now. This is all going to pass. And, unfortunately, a lot of doors have closed from this, but that means that there's new doors that need to be opened. And the people that are driven now will open those doors eventually and become the new leaders.
I think what I would say is definitely take that first step, do that first thing, even if it's doing something like a short course, because that idea would sit in your mind for so long, and a good idea will stay an idea if you don't put it into action and you take that first step. And for something, I think, like voiceover work or presenting on television and radio, it's not the average or the most taken course out there. So it might be a bit more scary, but it's all about taking the first step. Once you get the ball rolling, it sort of sometimes rolls on its own a little bit without you having to necessarily push it down the hill. So take that first step and take the risk, basically.
I would want to go back to what I've just said about self-awareness. Be aware of your voice. Be aware of where your voice could, in fact, the way you're using it could hinder your communication, as opposed to enhance or help your communication. So, do you speak very quickly, naturally? Are you a very, very fast speaker? Well, if that is the case, there's nothing wrong with speed as such, because it does provide a very nice energy. Quick speakers, they energize people very often, and that's fine. However, to what extent is the speed, the rate of your voice, your speech, actually hampering communication? So record yourself. Every single person has got a phone with a very good recorder on it. Record it, speak into it, read into it, create your own adverts, create your own scripts, read into your phone, play it back, play it to other people. Get a good, solid friend who's not afraid to tell things as they are, but is not there to criticize you. Let them give you some feedback. They could say, look, you're speaking too fast. I'm struggling to follow you because it's too fast. You need to hear what they're saying. In which case, if you're going into this field, become aware of your voice. Listen to it, get feedback from other people as to the way it comes across, experiment with it, read children's books, read other books, read poems, read things, use the voice more and more, so that it's like playing the piano. I happen to be a pianist, and I started learning the piano when I was 6 years old. And I'm a hell of a lot older than that now. So I've been playing for a long time. And there's practice involved. You don't just sit down and play a piano. Well, very often you don't just sit down and knock off a voiceover. You might have a naturally a pleasant sounding voice. That's cool. But you need to be aware of its potential problem areas. Get advice. Listen to yourself. Get feedback. Go on training. The South African Voiceover Academy, Selwyn and Craig offer courses. I know, Gail, I don't know if you run some courses, but there are people out there, certainly you are aware of them. There are a lot of people who run voices and who will record you and then play your voice back so that you can hear how you sound. Those courses are invaluable. I believe the course I offer, Gym for the Voice, or some personal coaching, will help you become more aware of your own voice and how you can use it more effectively. But the short answer is, if you want to use your voice, get to know your voice, get to love your voice, get to experiment with your voice, get to play with your voice, experiment, read aloud, do things in the car. Always use the car. It's a wonderful recording studio. Use the car to experiment and play around with your voice. Does that make sense at all, Gail?
It does. That is really fabulous advice. I would agree. The voice is a muscle and it needs to be trained. Not just the voice,
exactly.
But the mouth and everything. It's your tools. Yeah.
The thing is, you're quite right. That's a good point, is the voice. We talk about the voice. Well, the voice is all sorts of things. It starts there. In fact, it starts here in the breathing, because that's the foundation. That's the cushion on which the voice sits. And the breath will give you more power in your voice, and it will help you deal with nervousness. By the way, nervousness, nothing wrong with being nervous, because it gives you a kind of an adrenaline. There was a wonderful story about Rudolf Nureyev, the Russian ballet dancer, one of the greatest ballet dancers of all time. And when he'd been dancing for some time, he was in a press conference, and a journalist, I think trying to be a bit clever dick, said to him, "So, do you still get nervous when you dance?" And his answer was very telling. He said, "If I did not get nervous before a performance, I would be worried." And I thought that was brilliant, because what he was saying was, he was leaping those extraordinary moves that ballet dancers do. And what he was saying was, the energy, the adrenaline in my body helps me do that. But of course, it's adrenaline that is contained and focused. So as they say, butterflies in the stomach, get them flying in the same direction. Get them flying in formation, but they will still keep flying. So we talked about the voice. Starts with the breathing, is activated in the voice box, goes into the resonating chambers, which are around here, to get the tone and the sound, and then is expressed through the speech organs. So at least there are 4 and more, because you need to engage your brain as well before you speak. How are you going to say it? What do the words mean? Where does the emphasis need to go? How can you play with these words to give them more impact? All of that is involved in voice.
Do you still get nervous before you speak?
terrified. I think it sort of depends quite a lot on, how many workshops. I mean, I'm coming to Johannesburg. I live in Cape Town. I'm coming to Joburg next week to do a workshop for an organization. I did one for them here last week. I'm doing one in Johannesburg this week, at the end of this week. That is an organization that I've been doing workshops for off and on for the last 10 years. So sometimes I just feel very relaxed, a little bit like, I hope this goes well, because you're never sure how the audience is going to take to you. The audience is always different. Every audience is different, every group. Sometimes I'm sort of nervous and I'm not sure why. I'm saying to myself, you've done this so many times, and yet still there's a nervousness. But I use those exercises. I use the breathing as I'm driving to that event. And sometimes, of course, it's online now. I'm doing these exercises to kind of focus all that nervous energy into the voice so I can use it productively.
Wow, that is super interesting to know, because I'm sure a lot of people starting out in voiceover or any form of performance really would be nervous. And it's good to know that you, a veteran, if I may say it like that, still get nervous. It's really good to know. It helps.
One of the things which continuously surprises me is the number of people who turn up in my studio or who land up coming to voiceover workshops who are not comfortable reading aloud or who don't practice reading aloud. They might say to me, I read a lot. And then when I say, do you read aloud? They go, oh, no, I never read aloud. And I'm like, well, what do you think it is that we do here? Because it is a form of acting, but ultimately it is a form of reading aloud as well. So if you either don't like reading aloud or you don't regularly practice reading aloud, this may not be the career for you. So I think if there is one thing I would ask people to do is, as much as possible, start practicing reading aloud and really, really, really listen to yourself. And can I have 2 pieces of advice, please? The second one is record yourself. Just use your cell phone. Just use your cell phone. But recording yourself on voice notes while you're reading, and do it often, do it obsessively, do it repeatedly, so that you get a really good sense of what your voice actually sounds like and how you can change it. Because that is the one thing that will never, ever, ever change. I don't care if you naturally have a great sounding voice. If you don't understand your voice and you don't understand how to change it at will, you will never work in this industry. So get real familiar with your voice.